All right, yeah, the worksheet dealt with the all the formulas. Once again, it's your application of all those formulas and having access to them, and being able to be comfortable with looking at your sheets is very, very important as you go through these problems. Problems 1 through 6, we'll start with them. Any questions you have, problems 1 through 6? Yeah. Number 4, we have cosine of half theta. Okay, looking at theta. Theta is in quadrant between 270 and 360. So we're in quadrant number 4. Here's our theta value. And the sine of theta is negative 3 over 5. We have a 3, 4, 5 triangle, so ours theta is between 270 and 360. And we want to find the cosine of half theta. The cosine of half theta. Now, when dealing with cosine of half theta, if we pull off from our equation sheet, we have plus or minus square root of 1 plus cosine of theta divided by 2. And that's what we can pull from our formula sheet. So subbing in, we have to find the cosine of theta. Well, the cosine of theta from our triangle over here, if I take a look at cosine of theta, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, we have 4 over 5 that we could sub in. Now, once again, it's entirely up to you. If you want to quantify and clickety-clack it through your calculator, quantity 1 plus 4/5 and quantity divided by 2, hit your math button, hit enter. You'll come back down to a simplified fraction. If you want to multiply through top and bottom by a value of 5, that is fine also. So we're left with plus or minus square root of 5 plus 4 divided by 10. 5 plus 4 is 9. So we have plus or minus square root of 9 over 10. Once again, if you use your calculator, which is fine, and in your calculator, you have parenthesis 1 plus 4 divided by 5 and quantity divided by 2. Hit your math button, hit enter. It takes you back to the 9/10 fraction. Once again, KYC, know your calculator. At this point now, we have to use our algebraic skills. This is square root of 9 over square root of 10, plus minus square root of 9 over square root of 10, which is square root of 9 is 3, over square root of 10, and then we can rationalize by multiplying top and bottom by square root of 10. So we have plus or minus 3 square root of 10 over 10. This is where we have to decide then, is it a positive or negative? If theta is between 270 and 360, that means half theta is going to be somewhere in between. Well, I can divide everything by 2. If I divided this by 2, I can divide this by 2, I can divide this by 2. We have 180 there, and we have 135 here. Once again, utilizing your calculator, you can pick any number that you want between 135 and 180. and take the cosine of that. Do you come down to a positive value or do you come down to a negative? Cosine of 150, cosine of 140, cosine of 160. Is it positive or negative? Negative. Which means my solution here will be a negative 3 square root of 10 over 10. The other one's 1 through 6. Seven or 8, or 6.5, 6 3/4. Anything else on the front? It's okay that I named more than 6.5, 6 3/4. I know for a few of you, it probably bothered you that I did put problem 7 and 8 down there. 6.5, 6 3/4. Get over it and move on. Tell my kids when they're adults, just get over it and move on. All right, go on the back. Anything on the back? Yeah.
12.
12, sine theta, sine minus sine. Sine 5 theta. Sine of 5 theta minus sine theta is equal to 0. We're looking for two general solutions. Two general solutions. So I'm looking at my equations here. Which one is sine of one thing minus sine of a second thing? Well, if I take a look, we have a sine of x minus sine of y. Your sine of x minus sine of y is equal to 2 cosine of x plus y divided by 2 times the sine of x minus y divided by 2. Wherever I see an x, I'm putting in a 5 theta. Where I see a y, I'm putting in theta. So we have 2 cosine 5 theta plus theta divided by 2 times the sine of 5 theta minus theta divided by 2. And this is equal to 0 still. Five theta plus 1 theta is equal to 6 theta. 6 theta divided by 2 gives us 3 theta. Five theta minus 1 theta gives us 4 theta. You divide that by 2, that gives us 2 theta. We use our multiplication property of 0. It sets each of our fractions equal to 0. Well, 2 is equal to 0. That does not make any sense. If it does make sense to you, you give me $2, I give you $0, and we will call it even. Even $2 won't even buy us a gallon of gas anymore. Then we have the cosine of 3 theta is equal to 0. And the sine of 2 theta is equal to 0. To get rid of our cosine, hopefully we know by now, we take our inverse cosine. So we're left with 3 theta is equal to the inverse cosine of 0. Yeah. And 2 equals 0. Okay, I'm not getting rid of the 2. I'm setting each one of our factors equal to 0. My first factor is 2. My second factor is cosine 3 theta. My third factor is sine of 2 theta. So I set each one of my factors equal to 0. So my first factor is 2 is equal to 0, which does not happen. So I can say bye-bye to it. Once again, if you say that's 2 can equal 0, then that means you give me $2, I give you $0. We'll call it even. Would you like that? Well, update it. How about $200? I'll give you $0. Works out better for me anyways. So we take the inverse cosine of 0, which is 90. But since we take the inverse cosine, we get a second value, which is its opposite. Inverse cosine, we do principal value and its opposite. We can divide by 3. So we have theta is equal to 30 plus or minus the period n. Theta is equal to negative 30 plus or minus the period n. Our b value is 3. So we have 360 divided by 3, which is 120. And 120. And, or you can think about it this way also. This is what we talked about the other day. I take the inverse cosine. Inverse cosine is 90 plus or minus 360n. Well, I can divide everything by 3. That will give me my 120 here. So that's another way of just thinking about it. Inverse sine of 0, we get 0. So we have 2 theta is equal to 0. Or its supplement, which is, what do we add to 0 to get 180? Well, that would be 180. So we have 2 theta is equal to 180. And once again, dividing through by now 2. So we have theta is equal to 0 plus or minus the period n. Here theta would equal 90 plus or minus the period n. Our b value in this case is a value of 2. So the period would be 360 divided by 2. So we have 180. Or you can think about the other way. Inverse sine of 0 is 0 plus or minus 360n. So we divide everything by 2. That will give us our 180. Or 180 plus or minus 360n. That gets 90 plus or minus 180n. You will have one of those. I know they take some time to get through. You have one of those tomorrow. Other questions? All right, tomorrow we have a quiz. I know we're in shortened periods. I get it. Get in here as quickly as possible. Whatever you don't finish, you have to find some other time to come in and finish it. If you have an earlier study hall and you're bored in the earlier study hall and you want to come at an earlier study hall before this period, and start at 10, that is fine. If you want to come in before school and start at 10, that is fine. Very similar ideas to what you just did in the worksheet. 6 problems that you have. on the front, angle, double angles, half angles, sums of products, 2 equations, and then on the back, you have 1 equation to solve, but we just did type of problem. You have 2 identities. Once again, the identities, you have to pick the correct double angle one, number 10, or number 20, number 22. 22, you must prove it. You must prove the identity, which means that's the expansion of your angle addition, cosine x plus y and cosine x minus y. Expand them. 2 of them you can combine, 2 of them you can cancel. Just don't, and this is what people will do. People will just look at that and just look at your formula sheet and say, well, that's equal to 2 cosine x cosine y because it's on the formula sheet. Yes, I understand that. You need to prove that to me. You need to use your angle additions as you proved it on your notes. You need to show we have cosine of x plus y plus the cosine of x minus y. Expand this out. Cosine x cosine y minus sine x sine y plus, and then expand out cosine of x minus y. Sorry, that's incorrect. Yeah, no, sorry. Then expand out the cosine x minus y. 2 of the terms you'll be able to combine, 2 of them you'll cancel out. you'll be done. Okay, you have the rest of the time. You got 20 minutes here. Solutions are posted. We'll get some solutions here.